What is going on? How you doing? It's your boy the Seafood coming at you with another video for YouTube for you guys to enjoy. This is another deck law profile post ban list. It has been in effect. It's officially here. We are now within the new format, playing new law, and I have to say I've been enjoying this. I've been cooking. It's been fun. I've been having a good time. I don't even know what else to tell y'all, but I hope that y'all get to enjoy this video with me. Go ahead, let's get into it. I do believe that I win the dice roll. I think that was. I know I'm mulliganing my first hand because I was just like, no, we're absolutely positively not going to keep that. That it was a garbito. So I go ahead and look at what I got in my hand, got what I got in there, get that life together. And yeah, he's first. He opens up with the good old classic pudding. I'm looking at my hand, trying to think of what it is we want to do. Again, we're always having good times whenever we're out here. This way you see me, big old smile up on my face. You guys always have fun when you're playing these games. You should always be enjoying yourself, always having a good time with your friends. He goes ahead and grabs the cracker, then passes on to me. I go ahead and get 2 on. I'm thinking to myself, I'm playing category. They don't really have too much. They go ahead and pop, but I'm actually pretty confident playing my Blamenco. Because, you know, he's just so good about for establishing your board, for making sure that whenever your opponent does play something that's a little problematic, you just go ahead and knock that out of the way early game. My opponent is thinking. He's trying to figure out what it is that he wants to do. I was just showing my friend choppers, because he doesn't really play red. He's always been against playing red, and now he's playing choppers, and I thought that was super funny. He goes ahead and checks his life, plays another pudding, goes ahead and searches for another top 4, and I do believe he grabs the Big Mom Pirates this time. He goes ahead and grabs his Big Mom on his deck. I wasn't too worried about the Big Mom. I'm going ahead and go with my usual play yellow strategy, which is just take life. Go ahead and disadvantage his 7-drop if I can, and go ahead and make everything else that he wants to gain kind of advantage off of. Go ahead and stop that from happening. And let's see here. What do we get? So anyway, continuing on from where we had just left off, it looks like my opponent is thinking, oh, sorry, it's my turn. Haha, sorry, got a little distracted. His exit went ahead, popped his creature, then we're going to pass on to him. Opponent is thinking that's what it is they want to do. They just go ahead and swing at me. I go ahead and take. Again, I'm just going to keep with the strategy, just going down low life and just kind of sort of just not trying to let him get any kind of advantages off of his yellow card plays that advantage him. So more cards from me, more chances that I could possibly lose, but I'm willing to take the gamble because I know that once we get into a later game state, my board is going to be oppressive enough to where he is going to have to try and figure out something to do to try and manage keeping me from getting at him. I do go ahead and pop his peril. He go ahead and he grabs a blocker. Let's see, I go ahead and just summon one to end turn. And go ahead and then just pass it on over to him. Go ahead and see what he's got planned and what he's got cooking for me for the next turn he's got coming up. I am just kind of sort of feeling pretty good actually in this spot. I'm feeling pretty confident. Yeah, it's early game. I'm liking what I got in my hand. I'm liking so far how the deck is performing. I'm liking that he can't keep any higher units on the board, that I'm just making sure to keep all of his units off his board. So even that indicates that he does have to have a backswing, and I do leave something small on the board. He doesn't have a smaller unit to go ahead and take care of that. That was really my thought process as I'm just popping most of his units off, and also so that he only has 1 swing per turn. So, you know, it just decreases the amount of swings he has at life, decreases the amount of chances that he can go at life. It just, you know, it just helps me put myself in a better position versus yellow now. Go ahead and dropping that rather large creature on this turn, really making me think about what I'm going to have to do for this upcoming turn to go ahead and get past that, because I'm already knowing that I'm about to have to face 7k swing and 8k swing. I'm really looking for a law. I don't have one thing at this point in time, so that's really what's what I'm shambling for now. So I go ahead and play the 2 bonds, try and see if I can find a law. I mean, I'm thinking through so many cards at this point. I'm just like, I'm alright. I'm pretty sure I'm going to see one here shortly. I almost went to Momo first, but I was just like, no, I don't want to risk missing the law. So I wound up still having to go ahead and do that anyway. which would have been cool if I would have been able to keep more of those Don, but it is what it is. I do wind up go ahead and finding the law. I do ahead and shambles out the law. So go ahead and get on out. I do believe I played the Zoro, so I started trying to go in his life. He go ahead and finds the +3, discard 2. really gotta master my card names, don't I, son? My son's right here right now with me. He's just go ahead and join me watching the video. But at any rate, we are really in the game now. I'm just really looking at my options. I'm really figuring out what it is I can do. He go ahead and discards for his effect, and I go ahead and swing, and he go ahead and discards again. Go ahead and passes to him. He go ahead and adds on to his extra Don, adding his Don more, going ahead and ramping up. I do believe that this is the turn where he decides, and this isn't a misplay on his behalf, I don't think so, and he felt as if later in the game he made the wrong decision here, but he 100% not make the wrong decision here, because again, he had no idea what I was playing. He had no idea what I could go into. This is the first time I had played this deck at this local, so again, people were actually making fun of me, saying, hey yo, put it down, man. It's done, it's dead, it's not going anywhere. But you know, we're here to prove all the law haters wrong and say that law can still cook, he can still get in there. And as you see, he used one of his littler units to swing at my Bonnie, which is one of the reasons why I was trying to keeping off his smaller units off of the board. Go ahead and adds a life to me. I go ahead and decide if I want to take that or if I wanted to go ahead and leave it. Do I want to go ahead and get the card? Do I want to save my Zoro? I go ahead and let my Zoro go. I got an additional life. I'm feeling even more confident in what I did before going into this. He go ahead and swings at me again. The only downside is I don't have any blockers. I've got this Momo and I've got the Vista. Of course, I've got my leader. I'm thinking on what it is I want to do here. I know I didn't untap my leader. I need to untap my leader. I know eventually I will go ahead and do that, but right now I'm just kind of sort of trying to focus on what it is I want to do. Oh no, I think I do just go straight 5 to his face. Yeah, I actually do. That's what I do. I do decide to go 5 to his face. I go ahead and summon the 8-drop kid. Go ahead and drop the killer, and then drop a beige behind the killer. Really strong defensive play for my turn. I was thinking to myself, are there any other plays I could have made that may have helped me push forward the game? But he had all those big bodies plus big swings coming my direction. I just felt like the kid was going to be the best play. I had some 2Ks in my hand as well, so I figured like even if he does try and reach, I go ahead and just get rid of these blockers first. And if he does just try and go in for a straight 8 or 9, I got a 2K. I can go ahead and get him up to 10. I'm feeling pretty confident. I'm feeling pretty good at this spot. I'm knowing that there ain't too much that he can do as far as board removal. When I see that he doesn't instantly throw down another 8 cost, I'm knowing that, all right, this kid's here to stay. He's here to party. And and even if he would have just thrown that kid into my life, that just means I would have had another life. I would have just changed my plan around and just kind of sort of went in from there. But yeah, that 8 cost really just kind of sort of put him in for the pickle. He just kind of sort of really didn't know what to do. Kind of sort of gave my opponent very large tunnel vision. As 8 kid usually does. Your opponent just kind of sort of has to focus it. They can't get to you until they get past it. And I just go ahead and discard 1K for that because, you know, just simple counter out. He doesn't put any Dawn into that attack. He's trying to think if he should put Dawn into attack or maybe if he wants to go ahead and summon his 10 cost. I do believe that he swings with all of his creatures and then just plays 10 costs. He swings with both his 8. I counter out of both of those. I don't think I go for a block. I think I just go ahead and discard a 1K for both of those swings. Yeah, that's what I decided to do. I decided to go ahead and just discard 1. No sense in getting rid of my blockers. And I don't know what he's got. I don't know what he could plan on doing. He could invest more. He goes ahead and swings 5. And we both have a laugh about this. We're just like, yeah, sure, 5 good. Gets rid of his Shirohoshi to go ahead and play another Big Mom to give him another life. I go ahead and just say, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and leave a Dawn on him because let's just say he's just not going to not use his ability. He asked me if I could actually move my Law because it was a bit confusing having my Law there as my last life because he had bottom decked it. I wound up going to search for the Momo and it turns out that the Momo whiffed. That was no good. I went ahead and rearranged that for him so it just looked a bit, board state looked a little bit more clearer and better to understand. So I'm really trying to debate on what it is that I want to do here. I will go ahead and just say go 5 with Vista, swing into his life. He counters out, and then I just decide I'm going to go 7 at life. He go ahead and blocks, and then I'm just going to say and go 9 with life with kid. He decides that he is just going to go ahead and take that. There isn't any triggers in his life. I'm like, okay, cool. Trying to debate on what it is I want to do here. I decide that I'm just going to go ahead and trash the Momo and play the Bonnie. Try and search to see if I can find me a blocker law, maybe a restand law, something of the sort. Looking at my hand, looking at my options, I do believe that I find the blocker law, which does come in super clutch. I've got the 1 red Vista sitting on the field, and I'm pretty ecstatic about finding that. So I go ahead and get that other blocker onto the field, and then that's when I go ahead and throw down that Okiku, because my thought processes were, well, if he plays multiple blockers, I now have a Vista and an Okiku. So in the event that he should have a blocker on board, I'll be able to pop one and then Okiku the other, so he won't be able to guard himself that way when it comes to protecting his life. It's his turn. He's trying to debate. Excuse me, guys. His turn, he's trying to debate heavily on what it is that he wants to do, how it is he wants to play the rest of this turn out, because he knows he's in a situation to where he has to win this turn. If he does not, then there's a big chance that I'm going to beat him on my upcoming turn. So he's trying to figure out what he has to do. He's got a big kid swing to get past. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in my hand, 1 card in life, 1, 2, 3 blockers, and a kid that he's going to have to get past. So he go ahead, swings 12. I go ahead and block out of that. Easy decision, as you know. Big mom coming in with the 12K swing. I'm not gonna go ahead and get up for the cards for that, so obviously I'm just gonna go ahead and give him the 1 for it. He's trying to again decide on how it is he should divvy out these attacks and what it is he should do next, because he does play the pudding, trying to find something that maybe possibly can help him in the situation. Maybe he was hoping that he could find him another A cost, try and go ahead and just remove the kid all entirety and just go ahead and try and swing in for life. Unfortunately, he does not. He does find a blocker though, which is again what I was counting for, that he might find or might run into. He tries to go 10 into kid. I go ahead and try and figure out what it is that I want to make my next move, and I do believe that I decided to counter out of this attack, and because I had wanted to save the 2 blockers in the event that I had needed the 2 blockers, or I needed that other swing with law. I didn't want to give that up, so I just took. So I just go ahead and decide that maybe the best bet would go ahead and be to just counter out, probably just counter out, and that'd be maybe what I would need to do to just make this next move my best move. So I'm just trying to again just think about it, divvy it up, figure it out, put it all together, go over the motions. He goes 10, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I know that he wants to summon that blocker. I think this is the perfect time for me to use my blocker. I don't think that I need to use any more counter power in my hand. This probably be my best bet for go ahead and getting out of the situation. And looking at it, he go ahead and tries to swing 1 more time into my kid for 8. I go ahead and discard one of the Vistas that I had in my hand for the 9. Then it comes back to me. I go ahead and I swing. I think that I'm going to just decide to just start swinging really high with everything that I have on board. I go ahead and swing 7 in his life, resting his only blocker. We all have a laugh about that because he low-key forgot about the effect of my Okiku that was going to allow me to rest his blocker. So he goes ahead and looks at all his cards. He goes ahead, does +1, gets rid of a non-corner, gets rid of a big mom. 2 non-counter cards. I'm thinking to myself, what would be my best bet here for trying to make sure that I go for game. I go ahead and swing 9 with my leader. He takes, and then I put all the rest onto my ACOS kid and swing for game. Now we're going to go ahead and go into the next game here, where it is Law versus Red Purple Luffy. Alright, we're both just go ahead and getting ourselves together for this one. We're just trying to see, you know, the motions of first and second. Who's going to get what? We both get our packs for entry into the tournament, which was pretty nice. I go ahead and look at my hand. I thought to myself, oh, this is pretty good. I don't know if Luffy plays a whole lot of orb removal. He does forget to get his life, but just playing a good local game. Not really trying to press it anything. This ain't no treasure cover or nothing like that. I'm not gonna shark you like that. Besides, I'm not that kind of guy. Anywho, goes ahead and draws. I go ahead and play one of my favorite openers. This card who just does work this entire game. This flamenco is just really good. It just does the work you need to do. It's one of those cards that your opponent is just going to have tunnel vision on. If they don't have tunnel vision on it, then they get hard punished by not trying to remove it earlier in the game. And if he stays on board, he's just going to put your opponent in a really oppressive position. Now, I'm not too familiar with all of the cards from the new red-purple leader list or decks, or some of the cards they run, so I don't know all of their Dawn ramping abilities. So I was a little new to some of the cards that he was using to Dawn ramp and using to go ahead and change some of his Dawn-like situations. As you're going to see, we're going to have an interaction later on in this game where I just didn't understand how he had that many Dawn. He had to explain it to me, and I was like, oh, okay, got you. It's all making sense now. I can't count because I do this horrible thing where I base my number of Dawn off of how many Dawn my opponent has. And whenever I seen he had that many, I was like, well, I should be at this many, right? And it's like, nah, it's not how this game works, my guy. So, thinking heavy on this turn, trying to decide what it is I want to do. I go ahead and just go ahead and swing 6 at lead. Let's go ahead and base attack. He goes ahead and counters out. Trying to figure out if I want to leave X amount of cards in my hand as well, so that he doesn't have the ability to go ahead and take those out of my hand. He goes ahead and uses an event to swing out of that attack instead of using the counter. I thought that was pretty interesting. Again, that was one of those things that was very telling about my opponent's hand that probably doesn't have a whole lot of counter power. If he's using an event to try and stop me from challenging his life, and then he's going to just go ahead and keep the blocker. I assume that he wanted to use it more so in the late game. He is already hecka high on his Dawn, and this just showed me the power of Luffy. This just showed me that this deck ramps really fast. This deck is going to get there whenever it needs to get there, and he just showed me why purple Luffy is going to be a problem if red purple Luffy can almost do the same and just add another color to it, just a little bit less life, just another color to it. I think that red purple Luffy in the future is going to see a lot more playability because of his ability to Dawn ramp without having to take his life, and being just a little bit stronger. A 6k body leader is actually very, very strong. Not having access to some of the banded or restriction cards, does kind of sort of really limits him a little bit in his flexibility, but I think that that's okay because I think that it still really, really, really helps for creating a very strong, very, very powerful deck. Yes, little one. Little Lotus is just really excited to tell me about all the cool things that they just received, but at any rate, he goes ahead and throws down that Miss All Sunday and a blocker, which was a very, very interesting move on his behalf. I thought that was a very, very good play for him to make at that point in time, seeing as I didn't know what his hand was. So I thought maybe he was building up for some sort of big swing later. So I just decided I'm going to try and dismantle the board now. This is where you see my flamenco come in really, really clutch, and so I just swing 4 at life, and my opponent's actually pretty confused by this move because that doesn't do anything, and I just reduce the blocker. Then I go ahead and activate my law leader ability, shambling out for my blocker law, returning and this is where I actually decide what it is I want to try and do. I actually want to try and get this recursion, or do I want to just keep this guy on board to where I don't have to establish him again and he could possibly do more work next turn, especially since I had 2 blockers and I was going to get rid of one of his creatures. He only had 3 on the backswing. I felt like I'd be pretty comfortable keeping that. Also, because I had a throw roll that was going to be arrested, he'd be more likely to try and swing at that than my flamenco. So I just felt like, I'll be probably better off leaving this thing arrested than I would be my Momo arrested, because I'll probably, again, get more value on the upcoming turn out of this than I would the other guy. And so, past him, he's got all his Dawn. Now, before, when they had access to for Whitebeard, this would be a pretty scary turn, because if we could drop a Whitebeard right now, peas and rice, that'd be super effective. But unfortunately, he does not have a Whitebeard for his turn. He doesn't have one, so I'm in the clear, I'm actually feeling pretty good. Whenever I don't see him just immediately drop that, because that was really the only card that I was worried about this entire game, because it would have just been doing work throughout the entire game. So when I see that he's pondering here for a second, trying to think of what his next move is, knowing to myself, alright, he probably doesn't have any big drops that he can play. He has big drops, but not big drops. Then he just go ahead and Don ramps for 1 with his kid, and we had a bit of a strange exchange because he Don ramped and he had 5 Don left. And I was very confused. I was like, well, wait a minute, how do you have 5? And then he goes and plays a move on. Then he goes minus his 1 Don, then plus the additional Don, and then he has 4 Don. Just kind of sort of correcting the game state, because earlier he had 5 Don. I was very confused as he got the 5, but to make sure it's now that he had 4. And we just go ahead and try and figure out how many cards I have in my hand. He tries to figure out what he wants to do. He decides that he's just going to go ahead and go 8 at my life, or Zoro. He goes for the Zoro. I go ahead and give him the blocker because I'm going to use the Zoro next turn to try and swing into his life, because it's already a high enough stat swinger to where I don't have to invest as much Don as I would have one of my lower cost creatures to try and swing. But seeing as he has Kid established on the board, I know that I'm not going to use my low units to try and swing into a 7k unit, 7k leader. That's just going to take too many of my Don to try and take down and wasting my turn. I know this, so I know that I'm not going to go for any leader swings on my upcoming turn. So whenever he doesn't get rid of my Zoro and he doesn't get rid of my 2 cost, I'm feeling pretty good about dismantling his board. He does try and swing in. I do just go ahead and counter out, and then he does try and swing in again. I do just block, and I do believe I counter out. I'm just trying to debate on what it is I want to counter out with. So I go ahead and give him 2 1Ks because I didn't have any more 2Ks in my hand. So I gave him 2 searchers. I did this because I felt as if all the cards that I had on board were good enough for me to keep, and I didn't need to search any more Whitebeard or Lanoano, as I had all of the primary Whitebeard or Lanoano cards that I wanted to see. The only other cards that I wanted to see at this point would have been Supernova type cards, more so blocker laws or restand laws. Again, you see this flamenco is doing work as I go ahead and swing into his miss off Sunday, reducing it by 2, making it easy for me to swing. I go ahead and explain to him the sequences of how things work. My Blinko is going to swing into his 5, but when Blinko swings, it creates it to the mayor. It makes it a 3, so now it's a 4 swinging into a 3 instead of a 4 swinging into a 5. And he didn't want to give up counter power to save that. I didn't know if he had counter power in his hand. I go ahead and put it on onto my Vista and swing, also try to kill that creature as well. That doesn't go through, so then I want to use the rest of my Don for swings at him. Excuse me. So I go ahead and swing 7 life, trying to see if I can go ahead and get a power out of his hand. And I do not. I do get this last life though, and I go ahead and shambles out for a restand. I restand my Zoro and swing 7 at life again. He go ahead and counters out of that 7k swing. I've got 2 life and he's got 2 really sizable bodies. And a big turn coming up next turn. And I'm just trying to decide if there's something that I want to do with this last Don. Do I want to possibly get rid of my Bonnie to go ahead and get a blocker on board so I can have more defense for myself? Or do I just want to pass turn and see if he tries to swing into me and try and see what I can make happen? So I just pass. I don't play the additional blocker. I just go ahead and let it go to him. Go ahead, set this done. And at this point, I'm a little nervous because I make a nervous move right here. He go ahead and swings. I do believe he swings for 5, and I do block that. And I didn't need to block it. It made me actually very nervous when I blocked it. I should have actually probably just countered out of that swing instead of blocking it, and blocked the next one, and then allowed him to swing his life, because I was worried about him playing a rusher. And I was very worried about him playing like a 9-drop Shanks, because those are 2 things that would have really just sealed the deal for him. Like if I would have had any kind of low cost blockers on the field and he would have thrown down that 9 cost shanks, I would have been hurt. And again, looking back on it, as I watched his footage when he did swing 5, I would have been better off just discarding a 1K, and that would have been infinitely better than what I choose to do. But I choose to block that. He's got 2 more attacks, and again, this puts me in a very, very dangerous position because again, 2 rush characters, and he could possibly have it, or just rush shanks, and he could possibly have it. So he's thinking about how he's gonna do this and what he's gonna do to try and get to these 2 life. I do believe that he decides that he's just going to swing with his kid, and I take. And at this point in time, I was a little concerned because I'm like, oh man, this is why I was just like, oh dude, like, because if he has a 9 drop shanks and he drops it, and I take this, I am screwed. I'm absolutely screwed. So I just go ahead and discard all the counter power that I had in my hand to stop his leader swing from go ahead and KOing me. And he goes back to my turn. And I do take a little bit of time to try and think about this move because I'm just like, oh man, what do I do here? Because if he discards too many cards for this, then he wins. Like I've got nothing else left. I've got 1 life. He's got 3 swings. So I'm just trying to figure out like what it is I'm gonna do on my turn when it comes around, because I already know that this is pretty much in game for either one of us. This is a situation where either he wins this turn or I win on my turn, because there is no turn after that for either one of us, because whoever has the turn past that point is the winner. That meant that he would have definitely had won had this next play went through successfully for him, because he definitely puts me in a real bind by playing 2 blockers for his last turn. He actually go ahead and discards that after establishing poly, and he has all this Dawn up, and I'm just like, ah crap, like does he have an event? Does he have an event? Does he have it? And it takes me a hot second to try and figure out what it is that I want to do next. I'm just kind of sort of just figuring out what he could possibly have. 3 Dawn up, I'm thinking that he could have Red Hawk, he could have guard point, he could have Radical Being. I'm just trying to go through the motions, like, okay, what could he have? 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 So I'm trying to think, do I want to go wide with my swings and just try and see if I can get it in with 1 more swing, or do I just want to go ahead and summon this Rush Luffy and see if I get it with that swing with the Rush Luffy? So I go ahead, I decide that I am going to put a Dawn onto the Law, because I have to swing 7, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I have to swing 7 at him. If he has an event plus some sort of 2K counter, then he could probably get out of one of my big swings. And I'm looking back on this now, I'm looking at this 4-stake that we're in, I'm thinking about everything that I could have done. It's very possible that even if I would have just put all my Dawn onto the Luffy, that I could have still gotten it. But again, I was very worried about a Rabby and a Red Hawk in his hand, possibly to go ahead and boost him, because he had enough Dawn up for both of those, and those are 2 very real cards that this deck can't play. But I just go ahead and wind up bouncing my Restand Law and swinging 8 at his life, and he does go ahead and play an event to boost him up by 4, and I go ahead and play the Restand Law and swing 8 at him again. He does not have another event to counter out or to save him, and I win the game. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was